Hi, I'm Bill Siener.
And I'm Jay Burney, and welcome to Staying Connected. Today, we're going to talk about an important bill that's before the state legislature, both in the House and the Assembly. It's called the FLACO Act. Bill, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's the FLACO Act in the Assembly bill is A3180, and in the Senate it's S3658. And it's FLACO is both an acronym for Feathered Lives Also Count, and it's also named after the Eurasian eagle owl, FLACO, who escaped from the Central Park Zoo a couple of years ago and was a resident of um, Central Park in New York City until he met his death by flying into a building. So the act would direct the Commissioner of General Services to incorporate practices and strategies to reduce bird fatalities from building collisions in certain state-owned or state-leased buildings. It would require the commissioner to develop a design guide that includes features, methods, and strategies and best practices for reducing bird fatalities, and requires the commissioner to report to the governor and the legislature about findings of how to avoid building collisions in state buildings.
This is kind of a follow-up to the Lights Out New York Act, which was, it's actually not an act, it's a policy.
Yes.
Because migratory birds in particular meet their deaths when colliding with buildings. And so the FLACO Act kind of brings it from more than just turning lights out during migration periods overnight to just designing bird-safe buildings, which is really important if we're going to save birds' lives. And in Buffalo, we have a shoreline that's in the middle of the Niagara River, globally significant, important bird area. And part of that is named and designated because we have an incredible bird migration in the spring and the fall and really all year round. And so this act promotes the state thinking more about bird-safe buildings and not only strategies and policies like turn the lights out, but actually design buildings that are safe.
Right.
And that involves things like window design, because a lot of bird deaths occur because birds fly into windows.
Right.
It looks like they're flying through the sky, and they see the sky in the reflections from the windows, and it's not, and it's deadly.
Well, as I understand it, it includes both building design and building retrofitting with things such as film over windows to prevent birds from seeing a window as just a natural environment. So there are implications for homeowners as well as for building designers.
There's a lot of really neat and truly inexpensive things that people can do, including homeowners, to
Yeah,
protect windows from birds. There's maybe a billion birds. That's a big number. A billion birds every year in the United States die because of collisions with buildings and other things. So this is
and we've lost an astonishing number of songbirds over the last decade or so. I think it's about a third of the songbird population worldwide.
we are losing biodiversity in birds dramatically. Every year we have less and less birds, and a lot of that is due to habitat loss. And that habitat loss involves buildings. It involves, migratory collisions. Birds migrate in our area from as far as South America, Central America, the Caribbean, and they come up through Western New York, and then they go back. They go back to these habitats in the fall. When they're here, they're breeding. So we're creating populations of birds that help reinforce biodiversity and health of ecosystems like the Amazon, like the Caribbean. So it's pretty important that we find ways to be better conservation stewards.
Big question that you might want to address is why should anybody other than those of us who are really interested in birds and birding care about birds?
So why are birds important? I mean, they're important because they provide something called ecosystem services in a major and dramatic scale. Ecosystem services are things like keep water clean, keep the air clean, keep the soil productive for food, and there's a lot of ecosystem services that are provided through habitat development and evolution. Birds service those habitats. They do pollination, they do scavenging, cleaning up, they do genetic diversity, they help spread it. And so, honest to gosh, the birds that are being born in our neighborhood, in our backyards today, are next fall going to be working in the Amazon to help protect the Amazon and build its biodiverse health. So, birds keep us alive. Birds provide ecosystem services that, again, big picture, help keep the air clean and breathable, help clean the water, help keep the water uh, drinkable, and help provide habitats and soils that help us find food and health products. So they're really important. Birds keep us alive.
There's the bottom line.
Bottom line. Well, so what we would like to see, we're going to help push in our community, Buffalo, Western New York, the FLACO Act concept, the lights out concept. We think that we need in our local communities, in the city of Buffalo and other communities, County of Erie, um, lights out policies on county or city or other municipal owned buildings. We're working on developing policy agendas for the local government and then thinking through how we create uh, bird safe buildings and nature safe buildings. And all of this is part of a movement with a kind of funny name. It's called biophilic cities. And biophilic cities basically means nature friendly cities. We don't develop nature friendly cities. There are communities around the world that are doing it. There's a big network of biophilic cities. We're not part of that yet, but we're such a critical part of the Earth's habitats and the Earth's sustainability. We're in something called the Niagara River Corridor, globally significant important bird area. Now that's because of the migrating birds, it's because of resident birds, it's because how much birds use this area. I said earlier they come from South America and the Caribbean, they migrate through here in the summer. In the wintertime, we get birds from the Arctic that come here and depend on this area so they can go back to northern regions, boreal forests. We have an important population of birds that we need to protect. So let's be better, and we can. We're developing policies. We're going to be delivering concepts to the city and to the county and to other municipalities, and you can help us. And
In keeping with the thought of biophilic cities, there's another aspect to the FLACO story, the FLACO the bird story. And that is while his approximate cause of death was flying into a building, the autopsy revealed multiple varieties of rodenticides in FLACO's system. So a biophilic city is one that minimizes the use of things, poisons in the environment. And just a couple of statistics that I dug up about great horned owls, which breed here. A family of great horned owls, 2 adults, raising 3 young from incubation to fledging, eat upwards of 3,000 mice. And that is roughly the equivalent to 800 to 1,000 rats. So these are prodigious rodent controllers, these birds. Yet if we poison the food that they eat, we kill them off and wind up in a worse situation than we were had we not used the rodenticides in the beginning. Not to mention our own need not to follow our own nest and keep our garbage cans covered and reduce waste. But we need to work on that aspect of looking after our urban environment as well.
I think you make such an important point there, Bill. In the city of Buffalo, we have great horned owl nests, breeding great horned owls and other owls, and they are literally dying. We have a couple of famous sites in Buffalo. I'm not going to mention the big one in the center of town, but the great horned owl adults, one of them has died this year after the young fledged the nest. Uh, Rodenticide. We have a history of those birds dying, and we also have a history of studying these local birds that are nesting and looking um, in their pellets. What are they eating? They're eating rats. About 80 to 90% of their diet is rats. And so a few years ago, the city started developing a better rat control system with um, containers that you can keep closed that help keep the rats out. We can do that. We can do better. But the whole point of rodenticides is so important. There's a lot of other poisons we put in our environment also. But if you use rodenticides, you might reconsider that. There's a lot of institutions in the town that use it. Um, keep your garbage clean. Keep it in the containers as best you can, and we'll protect some of these incredibly beautiful, important birds. Well, so I think we should think about wrapping it up. What do you think?
I think so.
It's been a good
I
program. It's nice to talk to you, and we'll be back on issues with birds and environmental justice issues. There's a lot going on with protests and people of our age, Bill, that have some experience in life and can help, I think, lead younger generations to holding our culture together. We want to survive. We want everyone to survive and have a quality of life. So we'll be talking about that here.
Yeah, and in the meantime, enjoy what's left of migration season. Uh, Another important thing about birds is that it gets us old guys out in nature, getting some exercise and looking after both our physical and mental health. So,
I get a lot of steps in birding. All right. Thank you. We'll see you all next time.
yep.